Hey, it's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. It's the start of a new year. Well, kinda. It's still January, so like it's still the start. It is. In my mind, that's my justification. So it's time to look at some of the books that are going to be coming out in 2025. These are books that I'm personally looking forward to, books that I plan to read at some point. So a couple of them I've already pre-ordered because I am just that excited about it. But there's some books from throughout the year that should be coming out that I'm eager to pick up, and of course, publishing dates can change. So honestly, I'm not even really gonna focus on the dates that these are expected because who knows, that might be different. By the time they actually come out, it could have changed several times. So we will all just accept that as of right now, the books that are on this list are books that are expected to be released sometime in the year 2025. I'm not gonna go in any particular order. These are just books that kind of interest me and I want to pick up. Let me do a little switcheroo. So I should be on your screen in a smaller box now. You should see my screen here with my browser. So it looks like we're starting with Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. This is going to be the third book in the Emily Wilde series. I did read the first book. I really enjoyed it. It's fairies. The fairies in Heather Fawcett's version are more like traditional fairies. They play tricks. They are wily. They are wily characters, and you have to be wary of them. So I really like that with the Emily Wilde series. I do have this third book pre-ordered, and I'm planning to read both the second and third book as of right now. Right shortly after I receive this third book, I'm gonna try to read these two back to back and be current on this series. Just like everyone and their brother, I am looking forward to the new book by Joe Abercrombie, The Devils. This is going to be the start of a new series, and it's, from what I understand, has nothing to do with the First Law universe, so it'll be something completely different from him that he's going to be starting. The cover looks awesome, which, as we all know, the cover is the most important thing. But I haven't pre-ordered this because I'm waiting to see. I mean, I'm sure with Joe Abercrombie, he's a big seller, right? I mean, not as big as like Sarah J Maas, but he can move some books. I would imagine there's going to be some special editions of The Devils that come out. So I'm just holding off right now. I haven't pre-ordered anything. I want to see if there's any cool edition that comes out. If there is, I'll pick it up. But if not, then I will just get the good old standard edition, because honestly, the standard edition looks pretty cool itself. Queen Demon by Martha Wells. So this is the sequel to Witch King that she put out a couple years ago. Witch King was supposed to be a standalone. That was honestly one of the things that appealed to me the most about it, was that we so rarely get standalone novels in fantasy, and I was like, oh, that's cool. She's just gonna write like one book to stand by itself. Apparently not. Apparently we scrapped that plan and we're doing a sequel now. So we're gonna go back to the world of Witch King. And honestly, there's a ton of potential in this world, so I could understand why she didn't want to just leave it as a standalone. I remember feeling at the time when I read Witch King that it felt like we were sort of reading a story that was like a side quest, and we never really saw what the main story was. That's just how it felt. That's how it felt as I was reading it. So I think that there's a ton of potential for her to write more books in this world with these characters, and I'm going to be reading Queen Demon for sure. I am so excited because I said not too long ago, I was like, Travis Baldree, if you keep writing these books with Viv and, in the Legends and Lattes universe, I'm going to keep buying them. And you know what? Shortly after that, I saw we are anticipated to receive the third book within the Legends and Lattes universe. It's going to be Brigands and Bread Knives. And you know what? I am an inappropriate level of excited for this. So yeah, I will be absolutely reading this book. I'm hoping that he'll do like a Kickstarter for this one, because he did a Kickstarter for the first two, which I got them. I don't have the second one, Bookshops and Bone Dust. It's not in my possession yet because they're not ready, but I did get Legends and Lattes. It's amazing. Really good quality, really nice art in it. And so if they do, well, of course I'm gonna read Brigands and Bread Knives first and determine if I want to spend that kind of money for a Kickstarter on that third book. But if it's in the same vein, you know, if I'm as satisfied with it as I was with the first two, then I will be hoping that he just puts out a Kickstarter of it. Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. I really like T. Kingfisher. I've liked everything that I've read of her so far. It's kind of at the point where it's like, whatever she puts out, I'm willing to read it. This is going to be, it looks like it's a dark reimagining of Snow White. And I love her takes on fairy tales because she does things that are, I mean, they're just unexpected in them. And I'm into it, so I will absolutely be reading this. Death on the Caldera by Emily Paxman. This I'm excited for. It's going to be a fantasy murder mystery, which I love fantasy. I love murder mystery. The hook line is that it's Murder on the Orient Express with witches. So, okay, and you know, it's for fans of Leigh Bardugo and Agatha Christie. You had me at It's Murder on the Orient Express with witches, so I'm gonna be reading this. And is this the debut novel? I feel like I saw somewhere. So, oh my goodness, it's the debut novel. Okay, well, I'm excited. I'm always excited to like find new authors to try them out, you know, because we see so much focus on the same authors within reading communities, right? I mean, a lot of times for good reason. It's authors who can move books and they give their readers what the readers want from them, but I really like to discover new authors as well, and so I'm excited to read a debut novel. The Book That Held Her Heart by Mark Lawrence. This is going to be the third book in the Library trilogy from him. I have not read the Library trilogy yet. My goodness, that's a tongue twister for some reason. I do own the first two books and the collection of short stories, but I'm waiting for this third book to come out, and then I plan to finally tackle them. The Strength of the Few by James, is it Islington or Islington? Goodness, I see so many people pronounce it both ways. To me, it's Islington, but I don't know. Somebody let me know. I don't want to pronounce this man's name wrong. But this is the second book. This is the sequel to The Will of the Many. I have not read The Will of the Many yet, but it's because I've been waiting for the second book to come out. 'Cause from what, everyone that I have either known who's read it or has seen like talking about it who's read it is like, I really need to read the sequel. And so I've been holding out for the next book to come out before I read the first one. That's my justification. I do own it. It's not like I don't. I own it because I'm like, I'm gonna want to read this. But I do plan to read it after Strength of the Few comes out. I'm going to try to read those pretty close back to back. The Buffalo Hunter. This will be a new book by Stephen Graham Jones. I believe it's going to be a standalone. This is going to take place, it looks like the 1912 in the American West, and it's going to involve vampires, or at least a vampire. Stephen Graham Jones, after I finished his Indian Lake trilogy, I'm like, this is an author where I'm willing to try anything that he publishes, because I just really liked the Indian Lake trilogy that much where I'm like, you know what? I'm willing to give you a chance. Now, the first book that I tried from him, which is The Only Good Indians, I didn't really care for that book. It just, the pacing didn't work for me. I didn't think that the horror element was that compelling, like that interesting. It just, I don't know, it didn't grab me as a book. But man, when I tell you the Indian Lake trilogy, I thought was just all three books fantastic. And it's funny because when I see people talk about his books, those two series in particular, well, The Only Good Indians isn't a series, but when I see people like talk about The Only Good Indians compared to the Indian Lake trilogy, I see people who are like, you either like one or the other. I don't think I've seen anyone say that they like both. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. But even for people who are fans of this author, it seems like you either like one or the other, that for some reason, you're just not really like a fan of both of those. But I'm very interested to try something new from him. Like I said, I had such a great time with Indian Lake Trilogy that I will try anything by Stephen Graham Jones. The Orb of Kairado by Katherine Addison. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a standalone, but it's going to be set in the world of the Goblin Emperor, and it's going to focus on a historian there. So I'm very excited to read it. I really enjoyed the Goblin Emperor, and I will gladly read more stories that she sets in that universe. The Outcast Mage by Annabelle Campbell. This is going to be the first book in a new series, and if you could not tell by the title, this is going to focus on a female mage as the main character. Oh, and it looks like it's also another debut novel, which awesome. I'm so excited to see like publishers willing to give more new authors a chance to publish something that's going to be, like this says, like high fantasy, something that's going to be more complex. So I mean, it's nice to have authors that we know like are already tried and true with how they write books or, you know, sell books, but we gotta have new blood out there. And so I'm always interested to see which books and authors the publishing companies choose to go with. I love mages, and so it'll be awesome to have a book where we got a main character mage. Speaking of new Katherine Addison, we have another new Katherine Addison coming out. This is The Tomb of Dragons. I believe that this is going to be a sequel to Witness for the Dead and, oh goodness, what was the second book in that series? Let's take a look. The Grief of Stones. I have these two in an omnibus edition from the Broken Binding, and actually I think they're going to be doing an edition of The Tomb of Dragons. I think that was on their Instagram. I would have to go and check. If they do, I will absolutely be buying it because the editions are just like really cool. Another book in the Goblin Emperor universe that I will now be compelled to read. We're getting a new John Scalzi book. This is When the Moon Hits Your Eye, and it's going to be based on what happens if the moon is suddenly replaced by a giant wheel of cheese. So, I mean, it's John Scalzi, you know, it's gonna be funny and kind of weird. I feel like I own a ton of John Scalzi because, a while ago, there was a sale, I think it was maybe Humble Bumble, maybe something like that. I got basically like all of his books in ebook format on a really crazy deal. So I own a ton of John Scalzi, and I will absolutely, look, I like John Scalzi. I like cheese. I'm gonna read this book. Lightfall by Ed Crocker. This is gonna be book 1 in a new series and another debut novel. This is going to include vampires, werewolves, and sorcerers. So I am absolutely down to read this, and I've already put it on my wish list. It looks like it's going to be awesome. Brave Empire by Richard Swan. I don't know if this is going to be a new series because there's no series listed, but regardless, it sounds like it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fantasy based on an empire that's going through the start of an industrial revolution. So, but I mean, it looks like there's going to be sorcery, but it's outlawed. So I don't know. I don't know what level of magic is going to be in this. It might be like a low magic, not sure, but Richard Swan is excellent. And like, can we just pay some respect for a moment to the cover of this book, because it looks amazing. I have pre-ordered this and I'm very excited to read it. A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is book 2 in the Shadow of the Leviathan series. The first book, of course, was The Tainted Cup. God, I had to think about that for a minute, which I do have. No, I have not read it yet because this was another one where I was like, I need to wait for the second book because so many people that I saw talking about it were like, I really need the second book right now. So rather than torture myself by reading a first book and then waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, I would rather just wait entirely and read a couple of the books together. So this one I have also pre-ordered and I'm very excited for. Isles of the Emberdark by Brandon Sanderson. This is going to be another book that takes place within the Cosmere, but I don't believe it doesn't look like it's part of an existing series, although it looks like it's going to take place with the same character from Sixth of the Dusk, which I just recently read Sixth of the Dusk, and I was like, you know what? I really need to know more about this character and this world and what's going on here. So it looks like I'm going to get that. Also, I believe I did pre-order this because I believe that this was his secret project, right? The one, yet another secret project, because this man will not stop. Like, he is relentless, and I don't know how he does it. Please never change, Brandon Sanderson. But I believe that this is the secret project that he wrote last year, and if it is, I do have that. It should be coming to me because I bought it as part of the backer kit that he did. It's supposed to be, if in fact it is that one, which I'm like 99% sure that it is, it's going to be really awesome quality because I did get his 4 other like the Kickstarter, the special editions that he did for like Trust in the Emerald Sea, right? Like those books. They're awesome quality. So this is supposed to be like the same quality as that one, the edition that I got. So I'm very excited to see it when it comes out. Another release by Brandon Sanderson because he is unstoppable. But this looks like it's going to be short stories from from outside of the Cosmere. So from what I understand, there should be like no Cosmere related short stories in this. But I'm still gonna get it. We're at the point, we have the kind of relationship, Brandon Sanderson and I do, where whatever he puts out, I'm willing to try reading it. Oh, this next one is a tongue twister. The Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association by Caitlin Rosakis. So at first when I saw this cover, I thought that this was going to be like a middle grade, but I recognized the name because this author put out a book last year, which yes, I own, but I have not read it. But it's dreadful. So I do have that. And so that made me pause and I looked harder and know that this is an adult fantasy book. And it involves werewolves. So I will be putting this on my TBR as well. Weirdly, this next book I could not find listed on Goodreads. I don't know why. This is The Art of Legend by Wesley Chu. It's the 3rd book in the War Art saga. The Broken Binding did special editions of the first 2 books. I'm assuming they're gonna do the same kind of special edition of this one. If they do, I'm gonna get it. And then I've been holding off to read all 3 fairly close together. So once this comes out, I will be getting it and then I will be reading that trilogy. And finally, Heart of the Wordwood, which is the 3rd book in a trilogy by R.J. Barker. Once again, Broken Binding did special editions of the first 2. I have not read them because I've been waiting for this one, but I recently read the Tidechild trilogy by R.J. Barker. I loved it. I loved all 3 books in that trilogy were so good, and it made me be like, you know what, whatever RJ Barker puts out, I am gonna read it. So as soon as this one comes out, I will be getting it, and then I will be proceeding to read the Wordwood trilogy. For right now, those are like all of the books that are on my radar for what should be coming out. There's one that I didn't mention, well, a couple, but that's because there's been so much speculation about it for like years. But Scott Lynch, who does, of course, The Gentleman Bastards, right, like Locke Lamora, is supposed to be having, I believe, some novellas come out this year, and I didn't include that formally because I know people have talked about for years, like there's supposed to be a 4th Gentleman Bastards book that comes out, and there's been like publishing speculation about his books for a really long time. So I don't know. I'm kind of inclined to believe that we're actually going to get some stuff this year though, because we just got a short story. I think, oh gosh, it was just a few months ago, which I'm planning to read within like the next month. I believe it was published in Grimdark magazine. It was a Gentleman Bastards short story, so I'm planning to read that. I believe there's a couple novellas that are being published like imminently. So hesitantly, I will say I'm looking forward to some new Gentleman Bastard stuff this year. If we get it. We're not even going to talk about Song of Ice and Fire because that's never gonna happen. So, but I feel like we've talked about a lot of new releases today, a lot of new releases coming out in 2025, and there's a lot that I'm excited about, a lot that I'm excited to get delivered here, the ones that I pre-ordered, a lot to be excited about to read at some point, either from the library or if I get it at some point, it just goes on my TBR, although I'm trying to work on that. You've already seen my reading goals video, so I'm trying to work on bringing down what I've got, right? Focusing on what I've got. So we'll see which of these books end up being part of my 2025 reading. Maybe some of them, maybe a couple. We'll see how it goes. What books are you looking forward to that are coming out this year? Is it any of the books that I've talked about, or are there books that I missed and you're like, ma'am, I'm so excited for this book and I can't believe you didn't talk about it? Let me know. Let me know down in the comments, and I'm always interested to hear about what books other people are excited to have coming out too. So that is all that I've got for you today. Thank you so much for coming by. I always appreciate it. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.